So hi, and welcome to Hiring for Good. This is Suzanne Hanifin with Acumen Executive Search, and I am with my lovely co-host, Tanis Morris.
Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Tanis. And we are super, super excited to have Acumen's newest employee, Farrah Burke, joining us today. And Farrah, you come from an amazing background, very much big tech, with a lot of iconic brands in Oregon, from RunTrack to Hollywood Video, to Nike to ADEC, or ADEC to Nike. And then you left and you worked for a big international software company based out of LA. And then you did the weirdest thing. You took a year and you became the CEO of a small local chamber, your chamber, Sherwood Chamber. And after a year, you have come to Acumen. So I would love to turn this conversation over to you and kind of share with us your journey. And again, big tech, leading tech teams, and I probably should have said that in the introduction, chief of staff, operations, tech, I mean, a huge breadth of experience. So share with us your journey.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast.
Delighted to have you.
Thank you. I have had an awesome career. It's been so amazing, basically 25 years in technology. And, starting out, I worked for even the state of Oregon for 4 or 5 years. I was an auditor, and then moved into technology. I had some technology chops in that I'd taken some, technology coding classes in college. So I became an IT auditor. And then moved over to auditing for actually big studios. That was RunTrack. I would travel around. I was gone for 3 years, basically. Every week I would go to movie theaters and video stores, back when Blockbuster and Hollywood were a thing.
Yeah.
And I would audit all their transactions, which was pretty interesting to see, if what was flowing between the movie stores and the theaters was going back to the studios, making sure no one was cheating there. And then got recruited over to Hollywood Video because I was auditing their warehouses to be a project manager. And I think early on, too, I knew my destiny was going to be in IT. I think I've talked to Suzanne about this. Working for the government right out of school was amazing, and I was so lucky, and there's some really cool things I still have in place from savings, from being there. But I quickly realized that there wasn't a ton of money in it. Yeah. My director at the time was making $20,000 more than I was, and had been there for 20 years.
Wow.
I was, so I was like, okay, I think I can do better than this. But yeah, Hollywood Video was there till the end. Then, that was quite the journey at the end there with, being bought out and seeing all that goes down and with a huge buyout like that. So I needed something more stable and went to ADEC, which many people know is our number 2 biggest private company in Oregon. And it's the biggest dental company in the whole United States, in Little Newburgh.
Wow.
Yeah. So got to work with their technology team and to help them grow internationally, which was so cool. And then went to Nike. And I had some other stops along the way. I had some agencies in between ADEC and Nike that I worked for, notably Metal Toad, which I have a ton of friends still coming out of there. And landed at Nike and was there until COVID. So the change, why did I make the change? When I was reflecting on why, I think I think COVID changed me as a person. So I was an RTE, which is a release train engineer. It's a part of Scaled Agile, so managing like 5 or 6 teams and all the people in it and all of their dependencies and their projects and quarterly planning. It was huge. But when COVID hit, and being a part of that with that many people really rocked my world as a person. Also at that time, as we all know, Mark Parker stepped aside. And a new CEO came in. So just the clash of the titans of managing all those people, trying to help them, trying to help Nike with social unrest, with people's families dying, and then seeing the corporate wave of all the beginnings of the layoffs. It literally, I feel like it almost changed my DNA as a person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like I, was very much impacted by how when, corporate has their goals and then other things change that, how little room there is for those things to change. And I knew that I was going to make some changes after that. And I would say number 2 is I'm a mom. And I think, my husband was a stay-at-home dad. He's the most amazing stay-at-home dad. And I was sort of compartmentalizing what I was missing in my daughter's life prior to COVID, and just saying, like, she's taken care of. I'm so happy. It doesn't matter that I'm missing out on drop-offs and making lunches and all the things. I'm working. I'm so proud of myself. But I really was forced to see what I was missing in her life, which was a big deal. And coming out of it, I did not want to go back. I wanted to be there for her. You guys know how quickly it gone. You both have grown kids, or almost all your kids are grown. And so that's where I started looking for something full remote. Nike was saying they were going to pull everyone back. And I found this company out of LA, and it was a small company, and I helped them grow. Most movies were filmed through it, which is pretty cool. It was really fun, 4 years. And I got to work from home, which was cool. And I got to be a part of my daughter's life and really invest in my community more. Beyond that PSO, which is so fun. Volunteer in the community like I always wanted to. So it really, I think it opened my eyes to what I really wanted to be, closer to home. And that's when, the Hollywood strikes happened. So another thing. So that company, had some challenges. And I was able to pivot and have a year to kind of like do whatever I wanted. And so the chamber of our local CEO, or of my local city, the CEO position was open, and I applied and became the chamber CEO for the last year, which was like the most amazing experience of my life. I never felt more loved. I literally was knighted by my community. For my good works. And like I built them a new website and just brought all their processes to where they almost had no bills, just operationalized the whole thing. It was so cool. But it's a nonprofit. And that doesn't last forever. I'm still the primary provider for my family. So what's interesting is that I was really hoping someone would tap on my shoulder coming out of it. Seeing what I had done at the chamber, they would really, and another small company would come say, like, come help me run my business. And then Suzanne was looking, and a mutual friend of ours actually said, I might know somebody. And it just seemed like simpatico, honestly. And meeting the Acumen women and Suzanne, I just was in awe of them and was so excited for this opportunity. And I think with my background, it really lends itself to what we're doing.
Absolutely. And welcome. I'm so happy you have joined us.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. I also have so much love for Acumen, and
they have love for you. They love you so much.
Wonderful company. But it's like this. I'm just in my mind. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how exciting! Like how exciting for a business leader to have talent like you join the team, and with all of these experiences that you've had. How that's going to kind of contribute to their suite of services and their ability to even, more deeply support their client, which I know is at the foundation of all of Acumen's efforts. So, with that in mind, I'm curious, what are you hoping to help the company do? Yeah. Do you have a vision, or if it's not,
no.
Well, and it's still, the vision's still coming. It's been
of
2
course.
months.
Yeah,
but I think one of definitely the primary is, I think it was super interesting when Suzanne was looking for someone to fill your big shoes. She was looking for someone with a big network that wasn't similar to hers, and she said she looked on LinkedIn, and we only had 2 people in common.
Oh my
With
God.
her thousands
That's amazing.
connections and my almost 2,000 connections, we only had 2 people in common.
Wow.
So that really is cool.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm really hoping, like, that one's kind of on the nose. I'm hoping to grow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to use what my background to really help us grow into other areas with my connections. but yeah, I mean, I think a lot about, they've been doing everything they can with a small crew and hoping to help them operationalize some things. I think I'm come from an operations background. I can get all those processes humming if they need it. So, those are the two things. I really think there's a lot of simpatico around the growth between us, and then just, help us tune up our process maybe if we want to.
Well, and I think it's really interesting because you and I both came from very, very big organizations. And I never intentionally set out to start my own business. It kind of just happened. And there's a big difference of being kind of part of this cog or creating processes, systems, being very intimate in the day-to-day lives. There's lessons from both sides. And you did have the chamber, which was really small.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate going from this big corporate world to really, it was you and volunteers, which volunteers make it
It's very hard to manage.
even much harder.
And a volunteer board. I would say,
Let us not forget.
nonprofits. Bless them, bless anyone who volunteers to be on a nonprofit board. But it is a huge challenge. And even going to having no one, I mean, I literally felt like I was doing everything right. You have to be 50,000 foot down to 5 feet every single day.
Wow.
From like strategic planning and finance and budgeting and paying your bills all the way to answering the phone if it needs. You know what I mean? You're just, if there's not a volunteer there that day, you're doing it. I ran a 25,000 person event, which was definitely something I have. Like, there is a lot of gray hair under this little bit of dyed hair. Okay, there's a lot of things that caused that. But this one, I mean, it was just another level. But making the transition, maybe it wasn't as hard because of I really feel like in my mind, I knew I wanted something different.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to be easy, especially financially. That is the part that scares me the most, right? I've had that stability and I love a good process. I love that, the stability. I feel like I'm a good soldier. So I fit in good in a corporate setting, but I feel like my heart is just not in it. It's just not anymore.
I think you spoke to something so human when you honestly and, very candidly discussed kind of what you went through during COVID. And I don't think that you're alone in that kind of sea change of kind of having some realizations about the world, or it's really interesting. And I think it's what's even more interesting is you were brave enough to act on it and make a big change. Have you regretted making, how has that sort of, you make the bold move.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of oh geez. So how is that?
It's funny, just is going to be really, really raw, but I don't professionally at all. Zero. I have loved everything I've done since I went to a smaller company to the chamber to here. Personally, it's been tough for my family. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
My husband having to try to support me, or finances changing and being a stay-at-home dad and us having to adjust to that.
Yeah.
And not that we hadn't always planned for him to go back and do something, but it really sped that up.
Yeah.
Right? It sped up that expectation for him to provide more. And that wasn't easy, right? And I think that it was really hard.
Yeah.
And just a man being a stay-at-home dad in general is really tricky.
Yeah.
I think your husband at some point was also.
Yeah.
Just, they have this expectation on them that they're going to be the provider. So I think the first 3 or 4 years was really tricky from an ego standpoint. We got past that and, we found more balance. But I think this is just another phase in that. I think that it's scary, your insurance. Where's your insurance going to come from?
Yeah.
The chamber could barely provide me insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's expensive, even for just a family of 3. So I would say professionally, I love everything I'm doing, but I do have a little heartache around I feel like I'm hurting my family. Maybe that's being a woman. like, it could be, we could be making more. They could have like an easier life right now. I don't, not that their life isn't great, but I don't know. There's something in me that makes me feel guilty.
I think that's really understandable. I mean, I think like, I know all of us have, everybody probably listening to this has been through similar, kind of a similar crossroads,
Well, and we've talked about it for a number of years, women that work, that there's this balance. And I think you come to a realization there is no such thing as a balance. It's not you're balancing work and you're balancing motherhood and you're balancing wife and, friends and everything else. It's really about those priorities. And then having to shift those priorities, that's what makes it so challenging. And also so rewarding when you look back, right? That you kind of go, okay, like for us, when Mike was the at-home dad for 5 years, I finally said, get a job. Come on, get a job, dude.
And that's kind of, we've had those points too. And it's not, he was working part-time, but my husband's been a designer, so we're lucky that he could shift. But I was also like, when's the time? Only because it felt really scary for me to feel like I was the only, Weird had less and I wanted to give the same more,
Yeah.
But the good thing is we're finally past that, and I think we have a good path, but it was definitely hard.
Yeah.
The last year was definitely the hardest on that. Because I was like threatening to stay at the chamber. I was like, I love this job.
Yeah.
But you know what? It makes $50,000.
Yeah.
So good luck with that. Yeah. Now it's your turn, buddy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I just don't think I would have felt amazing staying. I mean, they can't pay me more. Right. We could not pay me more than that, and I actually would not feel good about myself.
But it's interesting as we talk about these transitions and things. There are a lot of lessons to be learned, and when you look back, what lesson would you tell either your 20-year-old self or your daughter who's heading into high school soon and college and her career?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things here. I think it's tough when you're younger and you're a woman. I worked in mostly industries where it was all male, and so I had a lot of challenging times in my youth. Of just like being a leader or just I don't know, being considered a lot of things. A strong woman working with all men, it was really tough. So I think when I think about lessons learned, I think authenticity and just being yourself, being true to yourself is the number one. And it took me a long time to get here, which sucks. I think that's my generation. I just, I think the first 15 years of my career have been a lot different than my last 10. And maybe everyone can say that. But I will say that Me Too completely changed my life. Yeah. That movement, literally within months was my work situation completely different.
Wow.
Men treated me different. I hate to say it, but they were scared. And it sucks that it had to go that far, but it actually made a huge difference in my life. So thank you, millennials.
Yes.
Because I know we would not have done it. We would have just continued to take it. And which, again, I wish it was different.
Well, you and I were at that generational leadership event together, and I think you brought that up, and I hadn't really thought about it until you brought up that same point with me, and I was like, it's so true. And if I look back at like some of the things that were going on when I was in my 20s and starting out in the workplace, I told my daughter, who's in her early 20s, some of those stories, and she was like dumbfounded. Yeah. And I was thinking like, if we're all Gen X, so like we're raised with these John Hughes movies, and which now when you look back at them, they're shockingly misogynist and everything else, but I think you just don't even realize it. And anyway, so there has been a sea change in the culture of women working and working with men and working amongst men and everything. That's really interesting to kind of parse. And I honestly didn't even think about it till you said something. I just felt like I had to be someone different in order to succeed. And the last 10 years, I feel like I've been able to be myself. And I always say kindness is not weakness. I am a good person, and I'm not going to act like a bad person just to get
ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is what I had to do.
Well, and I think it's not just that men changed, women changed too. Because I think back on great bosses and poor bosses, and probably my worst was actually a woman who, again, this is, mid 90s, who just said, you want this job and wife and kids? No way. It's one or the other. And that was the time that we acted like men.
I think there was an expectation that to get ahead, you had to kind of
Pick and choose.
or act in a way that was a little like it wasn't. It was like weakness to be nurturing or to be kind or kind of lean into some of your maybe nurturing qualities that are a little more innate to women, and to have those kind of define your leadership. And whereas now, I think it's embraced.
Me too.
Oh,
I think it's
a
a strength.
It's a superpower. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can juggle that all, you're like, now,
Yeah.
totally, it's a strength, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And which is what I started to see down in the company in LA.
Yeah.
And just asking for what I wanted, it happened.
Great.
I had this amazing executive coach at Nike. It was like one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I was holding on to a lot of baggage of things that weren't even happening anymore. And he was like, we did all this journaling and talking about it. And it was like, he kept pointing out to me, these things are not happening to you anymore, but you think that they
Wow.
are. He's like, you need to ask for what you deserve. And when you do, it will happen. And I started to do that, and boop, 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 boop.
Wow.
VP of operations.
That's amazing.
I just said, I want to be chief of staff. I want to be VP of operations. Because I'm doing like 5 times the work of everybody else here.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I was still holding on to these things that happen to us in our 20s and 30s. No one's picking me.
Yeah.
I'm raising my hand and no one's picking me because I'm a woman. And it was not true anymore.
So what are you excited for your daughter and that generation? Because we have gone a long way, and I kind of want to do that little slogan, we've gone a long way, baby.
Virginia's.
But yeah, what do you...
I'm excited for her because I think they are just so much more discerning than we ever were. She does not think that she needs to be like feminine and like she is feminine inherently. That's who she is. But I think she's just like unstoppable. She thinks she can do anything.
Great.
She does not ever pause, like ever, which cracks me up. I just see her like walking into a room and she'll just raise her hand. Anyone asks anyone to do anything, I'll do it. She doesn't even know, even if she doesn't even know how to do it.
That's great.
Do you know what I mean? Which is like the coolest thing to see. I just think there's no barriers or boundaries. They don't have like their parents. I mean, I had an extremely feminine mother who was like homemaker. I mean, we had a lot of things going on besides that, but she also like very homemaker, was by my dad's side taking care. So I was like torn between all that the whole time. Very like, is this my role? Do I need to be the caretaker? I just don't think my daughter has any of that. Seeing my journey and then, having a dad who was a stay-at-home dad and then being in the world that she's in right now, I just think they can do anything. And I'm like, you guys can. Like,
What a wonderful
Awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. So,
well, gosh, I feel like there's so many interesting things that have been touched on in this conversation. I'd love to lean in a little further, but I know that we are on a time limit.
yeah, of course. No, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
So the final question that we always ask our guests is, what does hiring for good mean to you? We like that it's iterative, and we'd love to hear your interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like I've collected over the last couple of months, it's hiring with intention and the right people. It's not just like writing a job description and posting it. It's like looking at your organization and making sure you're all aligned on what you want. And then really hiring with intention. Like we're hiring what is going to be best for this organization. And hopefully they hire Acumen to help them.
I agree. Well, Farrah, thank you so much for your time and welcome to Acumen.
Thank you.
You're going to be unstoppable.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
wonderful.
Thank you both.
Thanks for joining us today at Hiring for Good. If you were inspired by our conversation, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you want to learn more about our executive search services, check us out at www.hiringforgood.net or our company website, Acumen Executive Search.
Thanks so much, and don't forget to join us next time for another in-depth conversation about transformational leadership. Until then, have fun.